Hey everyone, welcome back to the Michael Lofton Show on Reason and Theology. We're going to continue to go through Tanquerey's Manual of Dogmatic Theology. In the previous video, we were looking at the organs of tradition, and then we got to the section on the church fathers, theologians and their role, as well as the laity. And, we didn't have time to finish that last time, so we're going to continue this time with a part 2 on the organs of tradition, exploring who are the church fathers, what is their role, the role of theologians and the laity, according to this dogmatic theologian. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll dive in. You should be able to see it right around now. Zoom in on that a little bit. Okay, so the authority of the church fathers. Who are the fathers? So the fathers are those men distinguished for their sanctity and their doctrine, who in the first centuries made the church renowned by their writings, and who received full approbation from the church. And by the way, this could be explicit approbation or it notes implicit, so at least in an implicit manner. In order to recognize these men, we should look for 4 marks or signs. So there's 4 criteria that are used to identify who is a church father. And they are renowned in orthodox teaching, so their teaching has to be sound. Holiness of life, so sanctity. Antiquity, they had to live in a certain period of time. And the approbation of the church, the approval of the church, either explicit or implicit. Among the ecclesiastical writers, so this is a little bit different from church fathers, we call them ecclesiastical writers because maybe they don't meet one of the criteria here, maybe orthodox theology, they weren't always orthodox. Among the ecclesiastical writers, some have been adored with the title Doctor of the Church. And so now what this is referencing is those ecclesiastical writers who are church fathers. We're not talking about those who haven't actually met that criteria, but we're talking about those who are and are a step above the church fathers. So you have ecclesiastical writers at the bottom, then you have church fathers, then you have doctors of the church at the very top. And these are those who have surpassed others with their superior knowledge. Of these 8 are the major doctors of the church, and the others are called minor doctors. So there's categories among the doctors of the church as well. And in fact, we've had a few more doctors of the church since the time that Tanquerey wrote. All right, so let's talk about the rules concerning the authority of the fathers. It has some introductory notes. In order to make a study of the teaching of the fathers, we must pay attention to the laws of historical criticism. We may consider the fathers either as private doctors or as witnesses to the church or to the faith. When we speak of private doctors, we're talking about people acting in just a merely personal or private capacity, not necessarily something official. They are regarded as private doctors when they reason and present their arguments in the manner of the philosophers, when they make use of analogies or comparisons, or they propose their own opinion in such a way that they do not exclude the contrary opinion. They kind of leave it open. But they speak as witnesses to the church, a little bit different than in a private capacity. When they teach that a doctrine has been revealed, so in other words, it's been revealed by God, part of divine revelation, or has been accepted by the universal church, or that a doctrine must be so held that it cannot be denied without the loss of faith or cannot be called into doubt. Similarly, they speak as witnesses to the faith when they assert that a contrary opinion is heretical or opposed to the word of God. So something that is contrary to divine revelation and dogmas. If they speak as private doctors, their authority is only as great as is their knowledge, or as is the force of their arguments. So if it's persuasive, great. If it's not, take it or leave it, But if they speak as witnesses for the church, they manifest not their own mind, but the faith of the infallible church. So they are a helpful witness to that which is sacred tradition. Here are some rules to be followed. The morally unanimous agreement of the fathers declaring that the doctrine is de fide is a certain argument of divine tradition. So notice moral unanimity. We're not talking about unanimity to the man, but a moral unanimity, the majority. 3 conditions are necessary that an argument be considered certain: that it relate to a doctrine pertaining to faith and morals, so it has to be on faith and morals, that the testimony be free of doubt, so there's no doubt here, that it may be firm, and that the fathers declare positively that the doctrine is a doctrine of the church, not just their opinion, but of the church. That the agreement of the fathers be not mathematically, but morally unanimous. Again, not necessarily to the man. There might be some disagreements, but overall there is an agreement. For in this way, the faith or belief of the universal church can be certainly known. So whenever you have this moral unanimity, that is a witness to what is sacred tradition. With these conditions posited, it can be said that the fathers record the teaching of the universal church, but the church is infallible in teaching Christ's doctrine. Further, in order that an argument may be regarded as completely certain, the moral unanimity of the fathers of one age is required and sufficient. So it's not as if you have to have moral unanimity among the fathers of every single period in church history. What it's saying is if there's a moral unanimity of the fathers in one particular age, that's sufficient. And that's an interesting observation, because I would also map that onto the ordinary and universal magisterium with the bishops. The church at all times is indefectible, and so in no age can it be guilty of error. Okay, let's continue here with the next part. Testimony of one father or many fathers in matters of faith and morals is a probable argument. So it might not necessarily be certain, but it makes the doctrine probable, the force of which increases as the number and authority of the fathers increase. So the more who testify to it, the more probable it is. When the fathers disagree, then their authority offers no firm argument. Rather, it proves that the matter on hand has not been explicitly defined, at least at that time. For if a matter had been clearly defined, then the fathers could not have defended the contrary opinion without being condemned by the church as heretics. If the disagreement is manifest, we must confess that certain fathers have erred. For as individuals, they are fallible. So, yes, sometimes certain church fathers could be in error on something. That's possible. We don't say they're always an infallible witness. But if their words are doubtful, they must be explained by referring to subject matter which is clear. In every case, their words must be treated with respect. We must not attribute error to them because they have had no knowledge of the more explicit definitions of a following age. Now, as far as the authority of theologians, after the patristic age, which is the age of the church fathers, theologians arranged in logical order the doctrines contained in scripture and in tradition, and they explained these doctrines with the help of philosophical reasoning. These theologians can be considered as witnesses to the faith or as private doctors. So kind of like the church fathers. They should not be esteemed lightly in no matter what the Protestants, modernists, or other adversaries alleged against them. In regards to their authority, the following rules should be admitted. When theologians unanimously teach that something is not only true, but also that it must be accepted in Catholic faith, such consensus on their part presents a certain argument. If all proclaim some doctrine in regards to faith and morals as true or certain, it is rash to reject this doctrine. So it would be very rash to just outright reject or dismiss their position. If there is a division of opinion among the different schools, even if theologians of one school hold their opinion as certain or as very close to truth, no obligation exists of accepting such an opinion. Moving on to the next page, the common understanding of the faithful. So we're talking about the laity. Revealed doctrine can be discovered not only among the pastors and other leaders who teach with the pastors, but also among the faithful who, with a common or general understanding, profess a unanimous faith. So the faithful collectively, and when they witness to something unanimously, that is also a witness to sacred tradition. In order that this common understanding may be a criterion of revelation, it must be clear that the doctrine is certain and clear, unanimous, and that the testimony is concerned with important matters of faith and morals, so not science and stuff like that. The fact that the general agreement of the faithful is then a criterion of revelation is proved from the indefectibility of the church, the aspect of the church that is unable to fail in its overall mission. We have already stated that the church cannot fail, but the church would be failing in essentials if she were a society of erring souls. Therefore, from the fathers, for example, St. Augustine, in refuting the Pelagians, proved the existence of original sin and little children and the need, therefore, of baptism for these from the common understanding of the faithful. St. Augustine is appealing to that sense of the faithful. This he regarded as a very strong argument of faith. Other pertinent notes on this subject are these. The infallibility in believing is oftentimes called passive infallibility. It depends on active infallibility, which is teaching, which should always direct it. So you can't somehow put the testimony of the faithful against the magisterium. We should avoid the error of those who think that the church teaching, the magisterium, merely confirms the opinion of the church learning, the faithful. For the church teaching must pass judgment on these opinions, approve them or condemn them, and in this way direct the faith of her subjects and turn them from error. So the magisterium helps guide and identify the sense of the faithful, and the sense of the faith, and you can't put them against each other. Therefore, the faithful in the church are in no way the teachers. They do not define authoritatively, so the faithful are not able to teach with the authority of Jesus Christ in the way that the magisterium does. But they give their belief. The teachers impart and define the truth which all believe. So that's what the magisterium does. But God is able to employ the faithful. To promote some devotion, for example, the devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. But even in such an instance, all proceeds under the authority of the bishops. Again, you can't put the faithful against the bishops. They are under the bishops and guided by. They alone are the authoritative judges and proclaimers of the faith. So very helpful section in going over the church fathers, theologians, and the role of the laity. We will continue next time looking through more of the dogmatic theology by Tanquerey. So stay tuned for more. By the way, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe button. God bless. Hey friends, do you want others to discover why the Catholic Church is the church that Jesus established? And do you want to help people make sense of all the confusion in the Catholic Church today? Help contribute to this mission by supporting Reason and Theology at patreon.com/Reason and Theology. By doing so, you'll also get access to exclusive content for patrons only. Also, if you want to deepen your faith, there are free ebooks and even courses that you can sign up for by visiting reason.podia.com. Are you a Catholic thinking about converting to Eastern Orthodoxy? Or are you a Protestant discerning whether or not to become Catholic or Eastern Orthodox? If so, I have the book just for you. It's called Answering Orthodoxy. It engages all of the arguments that Eastern Orthodox use against the Catholic Church. I respond to all of them. I show that they are in error, and in fact, they're inconsistent, because the things that Orthodox are objecting to are in fact found in their own tradition. So the fullness of the faith can only be found in the Catholic Church. Check out the book right now at shop.catholic.com for your copy today. Have you ever noticed that certain Catholic teachings are classified differently? For example, some are called dogmas and others are called doctrines. And then a denial of one of these teachings might be called heretical, while a denial of another might just be called an error. In reality, there are many classifications to various teachings that may be found in the Catholic Church. In my course, The Theological Notes, I offer a crash course on this system that will prepare you to identify a teaching's classification more easily. And I'll also help you determine what level of assent or adherence you are required as a Catholic to give to a particular doctrine. So, if you would like to take this course, visit reason.podia.com.